is Paranormal Geek Official, where the truth can be stranger than fiction.
Welcome back to the channel. This is Parageek, where things can get a little crazy and weird. And our today's guest is Pam from the Hoover House in Waynesboro. I recently went to the house. Um, Lovely places. The second time I've been there, it's beautiful. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Hoover House?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Maria.
Thank you for coming on.
It was great having you here. Um, that was a really good night to investigate.
It was wild. I didn't expect it to be that like active when I went there.
What would you like to know about the place?
Well, how did you happen to become the take caretaker of the place? Like how was you so lucky to get
I
the
think
place?
it was just a twist of fate that kind of brought Jim Wyrick, Yvonne, Steve, and I together, and we just knew that we wanted to do something different for the field. And when we came across the Hoover House, we just knew that this was the place to be.
Yeah, when I went there, it doesn't the first time around I went, I was scared, but I think it was like normal scare, like when you meet a person or a stranger the first time around, that kind of like I'm nervous.
Right.
But the second time around, like it felt like almost like home in a weird, good way. It was beautiful energy. I was like taken aback. Like usually the haunted places have this thing, oh, it's a bad place, it's dark, it's evil. It was like a good place for people that are starting out with the paranormal or something. I think it's a great place to start.
Thank you. That was a very nice compliment because my whole idea of when people come to the Hoover House is to first and foremost make them feel welcomed, let them feel like they can drop their guard a little bit and just feel like they're at their grandmother's house.
Yeah.
Because we were a nursing home. And I worked in long term care for a long time. I worked at one of our local nursing homes here in the Gettysburg area. And when people came in to visit our residents, just their whole attitude changed and that love came through. So when people come here to the Hoover House, I kind of hope that that's going to be what happens, that people come in and feel the love that was here amongst that greatest generation.
Yes, that's what I felt. And I felt
Right.
so comfortable. I even brought my family to just stay the night with us. That was the second night around. The first time I was like, I don't know the place. Let me see how it feels. But right when I came back, I was like, I know I can have them. They'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have had kids here. SOS Teen Camp comes and once a year around June, and they do some things in Gettysburg, and this is one of their stops.
Awesome. So there's a lot of community activities at the Hoover House.
Yes, yes. Now that being said, there are some things that go bump in the night here, just like every other active place. Our basement was called the coal mine, so that was an illegal bar until like the
Okay.
early 1980s. So that down there kind of has a different feel and a different vibration. Um, Lots of photography down there that people have had. And I hate to say capture because spirit won't give you, in my opinion, doesn't give you evidence unless it wants you. They want you to have it. So I try to not say capture, but I do sometimes. But I don't mean capture it. I mean we're blessed with it. And then as you move up the stairs into the main areas of the Hoover House, I think you can feel the energy kind of change.
Yeah, I noticed that. The basement was, I'm not gonna lie, the scariest part. At first, the second time around, I felt a little bit more comfortable, but the first one really like, and the first time I went, it really stayed with me because for some reason it was like the most energetic I could feel at that moment because it was the last part of the investigation of the night. I went downstairs. I took maybe way too much stuff too. I was trying to record things and everything died on me. So whatever it was, it just sucked all the energy. And
Mm-hmm.
as soon as that happened, m- this cold, and I used to hear this all the time in those shows, and I'm like, oh, people are like, they're letting it get to their head or whatever. It really is like a cold shot of, like if you put your hand on top of ice, just barely, that's what it felt on my left leg, on the ankle, close to that hallway where you were saying, where you're gonna go to the bathroom.
Yes. That's where I got the picture of a dark shadow. So we get EVPs talking about a black floor from time to time. And when you look down there, part of the floor is red. And then the one hallway where you're talking about is actually painted black on the floor. Um, So the red, we actually had an older man come to the Hoover House, and he was one of the bartenders. And he was like, "Can I go downstairs?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So he told us that the red part was where the bar area was, and the black part, he had no explanation. He's like, "It's just a floor." But that's where I got a picture of an apparition coming up from that black floor, um, kind of just standing there.
Yeah, and I don't like to talk about this side of me. Although this is for the channel, like all the paranormal stuff. My thing, I'm still learning with the spiritual stuff and whatever. So I don't like to call myself psychic or anything or put anything in a box. But I saw something when I walked in without Pam really saying anything. In my mind's eye, I like, oh, I think there's gonna be like a black shadow without me saying anything. And then she started talking about the black shadow. So I thought that was a good like validation that there is something
Absolutely.
in the basement.
Yeah, don't how do you say it? Like don't count yourself out, you know. We all have beautiful gifts, and you do have gifts. So
Thank
don't
you.
count yourself out. You know, don't our ourselves. I'm a Reiki master, so I work on energies, and you're an amazing person with beautiful gifts. So don't
Thank you.
sabotage your gifts, you know?
Yeah, yeah. My mom used to say, like, don't do that. Just, what you say, it is. And so I try not to do it, but sometimes I'm too shy.
Now, you don't have to be shy here, you know, at the Hoover House. Like, that's one of the really good things. Like, there's great places that I love. And then there's some places that put you like, ooh, wow, I'm in like the sanitarium or sanatorium. And you're like, wow, um, where I kind of hold back too. But when you're at a place like that with friends, don't ever feel like you have
Yeah.
to go back with us.
No, yeah, I really did feel comfortable with you guys. That was a beautiful experience, and I hope to repeat one day. So
Absolutely. You're always welcome here. Your kids
thank
are
you.
awesome.
Thank you. This will be out soon. I did record that visitation with them at the Hoover House, but my kids, I don't put anything on social media, at least their faces. They could be heard and they could help me out, but I try not to put because of everything going on,
Right.
just for
Yeah. And you have to
privacy reasons.
protect them. Absolutely. I agree.
Unfortunately, and she's such a bubble. I love her. Um, Let me see what questions I can get into here. So, one of the questions is, what was your first paranormal experience at the Hoover House and how did it impact you?
So, my first experience was actually with the realtor. So, we were all here looking, and this the second time. So, our realtor, she knew what we do, and she knew about us. So we had our voice recorders, and we were upstairs outside of the Rosebud and the Primrose on the third floor, um, up there, and we were doing some questions, and she was kind of standing there, and one of the questions. So I was just talking like I did to my residents. Hi, how are you? You know, my name is Pam. Please be careful. Do you use the steps? Do you use the elevator? I'm kind of naggy a little bit with nursing home residents because I care so much about them. Like, so as we played it back, there was a person in there that sounded out of breath. And it was a man. And he was like, effing steps. And the realtor went, did you just get that here? Did that just, please explain to me? And, we were like, yeah, it's called an EVP. So we explained to her what we were doing. And she kind of backed out and she was like, okay, I'm not coming up here anymore.
Wow.
So that was our first experience, just looking at the house.
But and apart from the activity and the paranormal, that house is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I love the outlook, how do you say, the way that the designs of the Pennsylvania homes are here. That's one of the few that are still left up that are they look intact. It's beautiful the way they have it. You guys have it.
Thank you. Yeah, it kind of is just reminiscent of days gone by.
Yeah, I love that feeling. Oh, it's a dream.
And then I collect people. So you'll see, whoever hasn't been here who's watching, like I collect portraits of people.
Oh
Um,
yes. Oh my God, that was beautiful. All the
it's like
portraits.
their last thing. Like that's the last thing that they have. And I just pay homage to the people, of the past. So you'll see them all through the house.
And I'll try to put them in as we're talking about in the podcast so you guys at home can see what we're talking about. There was a lot of, especially I don't know what I can talk about or not, that one painting you said
Oh, you
of
can talk about anything.
the the princess of Spain, was it that you were talking about? That was interesting. That was really cool.
She was gifted to us for us to take care of her, and she's from the mid 1700s. She was a princess, so it's a big oil painting. Um, I have to go down the rabbit hole and get all of her history.
Okay.
But when you Google Lens her, and go like that on the painting, it comes right up.
Yeah, I was just for curiosity's sake, and I think I saved a little bit of the
Good.
information. If I find more stuff, I'll send it because I was talking about that. I started looking up Astral or Astrid. I'm like, that
Astrid.
sounds so familiar because we were having a lot of, and you guys at home will see this when I finish editing all that footage I have. Um, Astrid kept popping up in there, and it's popped up before for them in past EVPs. And I got curious, and I
Right.
said, well, that's got to mean something. There is a meaning for it, and I looked it up, and I think I posted it on Facebook.
I did look up an obituary, and I did find someone with that middle name. Now, that being said, you can look up obituaries for Hoover House, and a lot of them come up because we were a nursing home. The person that I found with the middle name of Astrid lived here in Waynesboro, but didn't live here at the Hoover House ever. But it's just such an odd name.
That's still that's very interesting, and the history behind that name, I'll show you. I'll tell you in a minute. I thought that was very fascinating. It made sense to me because Pennsylvania, from what I understand, is all a Dutch and German history, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it said something else because of the name. Let me make sure I look at it.
Yeah, there's a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch, actually, like Moravian, like the Lidditz area was like the Moravian stars are all through that little town, which is really, it's gorgeous.
It was something I can't get it was another culture. Oh my God. And I was just telling my daughter because she likes that stuff too. As soon as I find it real quick, I posted it on my um it is derived from a Norse um background or the old it's an old Norse name. And
Oh, nice.
and Pennsylvania is believed to be one of the places that the Norse or the Viking were here. There's like a theory that Columbus what's his name? Oh my God, I'm killing his name. The first one to find Americas really wasn't the first. It was
Right.
the Vikings were already here living.
Hmm.
So I thought that was really interesting connection with the Astrid and all that stuff.
That's cool. I'll have to get on the rabbit hole on that name too.
Let me see what else I can tell. Um, I had so many questions when I was there in front of you, and now that I'm over here, and they're like,
You're good.
uh, I'm looking at my questions. I threw a bunch of questions, and I'm like seeing which one I like most. How has the Hoover House influenced the paranormal community over the years for you?
Um, how have we influenced? I think knowing that no matter what kind of label people put on themselves, whether they're famous or not famous or teams, we treat everybody on a the same level, you know. And our friends who are on TV, when they come here, like they just get to relax too,
Oh, that's beautiful.
and investigate. And I would hope that from now into the future, and who knows what the future is, that people can get some really good evidence.
Yeah, I that little bit of time that I was there, and I have to honestly have not had time. There's so much footage I took from that place. I even left a night vision camera up as I slept.
Oh, good. Very good.
And I was being woken up, or kept waking up around 2 or 3 in the morning. And I'm like, I wonder if I got something. So I have to look at it. But I did see like a orb shoot up from right where
Did
I
you?
was sleeping at. So I don't know.
I know the room that you were in, something holds people's hands. Like you got the most peaceful room.
Yeah.
We've had people. So I had three friends stay in that room. They all slept in the same bed because they were traveling, and I was like, I have a room because I needed my friends to stay, right? So I was like, I have a room, just stay, just stay. And so they all kind of cramped in, and it was like a girls' night. And Stephanie said in the middle of the night, she was like, she woke up, and when she described it, she went, "Who's holding my hand?" And the girls were like, "Nobody's holding your hand. Go back to sleep." And so, of course, like then everybody started giggling, and then she went back to sleep again, and something held her hand again.
Oh my God. I just kept getting this feeling, and it's weird because I grew up in a paranormal house or home. So
Hmm.
I on purpose would not have my back towards the outside of the bed because I could feel it.
That's how I am.
I could
Exactly.
feel it. I could feel it looking at me.
Exactly.
So I would just sleep with my back inside so I could like at least feel more comfortable. I had that same feeling there in that bed.
Hmm. It's exactly how I am. Like, so in our room, we're on the third level, third floor. Um, you can go under the eaves of the house in
Oh, cool.
two ways in our bedroom. Um, the rosebud you can go under one way. So the one time we were sleeping, you could hear something in the eaves of the house. And then the following night, we're sleeping, and Steve's like tapping my arm, and I wake up, and I'm like, and he goes, and you could hear someone like I don't they weren't gasping for breath, but it's definitely was like somebody on like a CPAP or something. And you
Oh,
could hear
wait.
and I went and he went and I went and as soon as his feet hit the floor it stopped.
All right, I'm trying to remember. I had that when I woke up, I think I'll ask my husband because he's like, "Are you okay?" Because he heard me.
Right.
But I'll see what he said because I can't remember what too much either.
Did you go into the rosebud under the eaves of the house at all?
I don't think I did. I think I
Yeah.
missed that.
Yeah, because you can go there. and do EVP sessions under there. So it's kind of like raw Hoover House.
Like
You know,
the
it's
in
kind of,
between the house.
yep, it's down to the studs, and you're kind of just getting that authentic kind of EVP session. You just shut the door behind you, and I have a chair in there.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I have to go back. I have to go back.
yeah,
But
you
I'm
have to
getting
come back.
things ready. It's an awesome place to practice. The thing is, it's for me too to like to get over with what I went through at my child home. Like it was pretty rough
Hmm.
what I went through. But I think my brother had it rougher than I did.
Fitting.
Yeah, he actually would see it, and him being so much lit more younger than I was,
Hmm.
I'm assuming well, it was because we all went through family therapy because of it for years, like
So does
back in
that
the
do your gifts kind of scare you?
oh yes, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm
So
not gonna
next
lie.
time you come here, we'll do an experiment together. So we will go under the eaves of the house together, and we'll do a session together. And
So
I'll
like
help you over that hump. I'll help you over that fearfulness.
yeah, it's ooh,
Girl power.
'cause,
Do it.
yes, girl.
All right. We'll do it.
Um, I even went so far, I think, but I took my husband, kind of like cheating. I went to Zach's museum, and that first hump helped me like get over because that was really scary.
Hmm.
The what they call it, the demon thing, the box that looks like a little chest. I forget.
Like a divot box.
Divot box.
Gotcha.
Oh my God, I was shaking inside.
Oh, I bet.
And my husband's like, "Well, you're here for that. Come on, yeah, I'm right behind you. You could do it." I'm like, "Shoot, okay, I gotta do it."
And that was really great that your husband came and supported you and encouraged you. And so like that's truly, that's a great husband to do that, to
Yeah,
give you that encouragement.
he didn't believe in none of that stuff, and once he started living with me, a lot of the weird things started happening. He was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay." I think. Oh, it's already all right. I could do one more question, then I'll let you go because I didn't realize the time.
Okay, that's fine.
Um, let's see. Oh, okay. What's the most surprising discovery you've made while researching the history of the house?
It's a really good question. So this wasn't really during research, but I have friends, John Larson. So he's like a all around good guy, and he does work on our air conditioning, our heating, and our hose lines weren't working out front. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go out underneath the porch. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. But he's like, no, I'm going under the porch. So he gets under there, and I should go get what he found under there, or I can just tell you. And then
Oh
if
yeah,
you
and then
want,
you say, and then I'll put it in and
okay.
afterwards. So
So he comes in and he's like, I don't know how to tell you this. And I'm like, oh no. Okay. So owning an old house, you're like, oh, what's broken
yeah.
now? What fix
Yeah,
now?
I know.
Oh no. Right. And he's like, come here. And I'm like, what? He goes, I found this. And it was the bottom part of a femur, the femur bone. I didn't show you that. Okay,
No,
that's
that would
kind
have
of
been
the look that you
sick.
just did is what I did. And I went, oh no. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm an energy worker. That's
Yes,
not something I want. So I'm like, great. So I called the police. I said, could I have an officer over here?
just in
We're at the
case.
Hoover House and we found a bone. Okay, he comes. And he's like, okay, how can I help you? And he was like giggly a little bit. And I'm like, no, seriously, we found a bone. And I showed it to him and he looks at it and he's like, oh. So he calls his sergeant and he comes back in. He's like, we don't need it. He's like, that's so old. If you would crush it, it would just be dust. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what do I do with it? And he's like, Pam, next door was a graveyard. Unfortunately, it could have got washed down. A dog could have gotten it and brought it over. He's like, it's very unfortunate. He's like, but I'm sure that you can do what you think you need to do with it. Then Steve's outside decorating last Christmas and he finds a collarbone. I'm like, this is just
It's washed up a lot more than just one thing.
so if you go on your phone, Google Map, and you type in Cochrane Family Graveyard and hit direction and you hit go, it'll do the walking directions. I'm sorry. It takes you out front and then it says in 90 feet, turn right. So you turn right and there's a house next door. It's right at the end of that house. And at the Days Inn, the graveyard was right there. And if you look at the history of the Cochrane family graveyard, it'll say few headstones remained. So I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if they had reinterred the bodies or if they just put the Days Inn on top of it. I don't know. Um, the it was a graveyard from the 1700s. It's very, very old. And unfortunately, I don't think that they pulled the bodies up. I don't know for sure. Um, and then so we have them put away. I don't feel like it's really something that I want to display. I think that would be really disrespectful to spirit. But ever since we found them and disturbed them, like stuff, the very first night, it was like something was trying to get out of the house. So I'm in a really peculiar situation. Like, do I just put them back there under the house? To me, I don't think I would want my mom just under my house, I don't think I don't know a way to um, bury them. I don't know what their belief system was. So that might be even
Uh-huh.
worse, you know.
Right.
So
Wow, that's difficult. Yeah.
yeah, because I don't know anything about them. I don't know if what religions or beliefs they had, and I just don't want to disrespect. So right now, I just have them put away in a drawer, and I
Until
do
they're
have some people who do digging in Wyoming, and they do dinosaur hunting. So he's like, I'll get under there and I'll be very respectful, but he'll know if he finds something how to get it up gently without, or do I just
destroying it.
leave it? I don't even know.
Well, maybe they wanted to be found so that they could finally be put to rest the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was something very peculiar and
Mm.
troubling for me,
Yeah, that
you know.
sucks. I've seen that before. Look, the as we're ending, look at the thing going off. Is that what it is? They want to be put to rest. That's crazy that thing started going off.
That's that was on target.
Yeah.
Like, again, as soon as I said that,
She's very well behaved. It's the only thing that I have that I know of that possibly has something because I've investigated her with a couple of friends that know.
have you taken her to locations or do you leave her at home?
I wanted to, and every time I always forget. I wanted to take her to the Hoover House,
You could.
but I have to be very careful with her because I still don't know where exactly she's from. They gave it to me because I like antiques
Hmm.
and I like to help research and stuff. And I could never find what it really was. And the person I believe was more interested in like money wise about it, not so much the history or anything. She's like, well,
Hmm.
you could keep it. And she gave it to me. And I was in the parking lot like, are you sure?
Oh,
No,
that
you
was
could
sweet.
keep it. And I'm like,
Right.
okay. And I already had like a weird feeling about her since the moment she gave it to me.
That's good that she's with you then.
Yeah. So, and my friend says she looks a lot like you in a weird way. I'm like, that's weird.
I have a portrait that looks like my grandson.
Wow.
A
Oh, and I
lot.
found those portraits. They're really interesting because I found one that looks like my kid. I'm
See,
looking at the baby. I'm like, that looks just like my baby.
I found it's the one that's like right here. It looks
Is
just like
that
my
the?
grandson. Um,
Wow.
and I said to Steve, I was like, "Oh, this looks like Jesse," and he's like, "Oh, that's kind of weird, but in a good way."
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, "I'm getting it." So I brought it home, and the sister has her hand on the little boy, and if you look at the portrait, he's blind. He has
Oh,
like you know, a stick.
blind stick.
um, but I think like antiques and portraits and things, they just find their way to us when we're meant to have them.
Yeah, I love collecting. I try to be careful with what I grab and like try to cleanse it. And if I feel weird about it, I won't take it with me.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I
Um,
collect too.
my mom and my dad, but that's the thing that my dad would overdo it at home, and I think that's what happened because he would bring too many things to the house.
Hmm.
Well, I'm gonna let you be because I think we've been almost an hour.
That's
I
good.
have
I
meetings
enjoyed
to
it.
Me too. I wanted to sit down and talk to you because that every time we would try to talk at the Hoover House, something was going on or we couldn't like it's just it kept getting interrupted. So
Yeah.
so I hope this repeats again. I'm gonna try to make it a little bit more organized, but not too professional because there's a lot of that, and I think people enjoy just to sit back and enjoy somebody conversating about the paranormal.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
So, Pam, thank you again for stopping by on my little podcast for Paranormal Geek. I hope it repeats. And do you have anything you would like to share? Any activities, anything that you want to put on here?
Just kind of look us up at the historic 1912 Hoover House. I appreciate it. And I also am the only woman in the paranormal field who owns a brick and mortar paranormal store. And we are called um, Historic Haunts of Waynesboro. So we sell metaphysical Palo Santos and different sages and gems and jewelry. And we also have a wide selection of paranormal equipment.
I've seen that. I gotta go back with more money they buy. Well, thank you, Pam, again for joining us. I hope the
Thank
audience
you.
enjoyed the show, and I hope it repeats. And nothing but the best of luck.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thanks. All right, let me just stop recording.